Pearson, and I am the host of the podcast formerly known as Perspectives. And as you can see, we've done a rebrand and it's now Braveheart. And I want to share just a couple of minutes about what's going on behind the scenes, about how it got here. And I'm pretty excited about it. I started Perspectives simply as a passion. It was something that I wanted to do. I love talking to interesting people all around the world. I think podcasting is phenomenal. We get to have long conversations with people who have interesting ideas and have done fascinating things and have contributed to our world. I think that's amazing. So I love long form conversations. I will listen to a 4-hour interview very happily. I think they're just fascinating, and so beat the 7-minute on TV, then go to a commercial break model that I think is so outdated. So Perspectives was me completely indulging the opportunity to speak to amazing people around the world, and I've definitely done that and loved it. We achieved 9.34 million views with that podcast, which is amazing. Maybe we should have rounded it off at 10 million and then switched to Braveheart, but I was too excited, and so this happened. Braveheart is me narrowing the focus a little bit. So Perspectives was a complete indulgence. It was not a monetized model. Never was planned it to be. Just literally the indulgence of bringing you fabulous people who share wonderful insights. And I've done that. Braveheart is narrowing that focus a little bit. And so Perspectives was anyone who had an interesting view. Now Braveheart is more aligned with and congruent with what I'm passionate about behind the scenes and putting more and more out there. So it's a brand that reflects the promise and the hope and the journey to our truest selves. Braveheart is about us becoming connected to this true nature of ourselves that is within us and can be covered up by years of conditioning and programming and being told who we had to be and being guided in who we couldn't be. And so we grow up with adaptations or maladaptations that aren't really geared for adult healthy relationships with ourselves or with others. And it's so obvious the more of this work I do, how out of alignment so many of us are, and we think it's a normal day. We think it's a normal day to have someone who says they love us shut us down when we hurt. Too many people think it's normal to be ignored when they're in pain. Too many people think it's just a regular day to not be validated around their experience and be told they're wrong. It's amazing that it's not more crazy making for people, because every experience is valid. It has a personal truth for us. Doesn't mean to say we'll have to agree with it. That's the other message that's coming in Braveheart. Doesn't mean blind obedience to somebody's experience. But in an intimate relationship with ourselves or with others, being able to connect with them, be present to them, and give ourselves the same gift. It's a skill set like everything else that we all need to develop. What I'm loving, the movement I'm seeing, and what gives me so much grr about doing this is the number of people who are now starting to say, as I've been saying, and I'm starting to see it more and more, let's normalize showing up for each other. Let's normalize supporting ourselves. Let's normalize self-advocacy. Let's normalize healthy boundaries. Let's normalize the spiritual journey to self. Let's normalize healing our childhood wounds. Let's normalize being fully ourselves and embracing who that is and loving them. These are becoming the conversations that I'm fascinated to have in so many different ways. So it could be through internal family systems, so IFS work. It could be through healing the inner child through other modalities. It can be the healing work through a more Buddhist approach or a more spiritual approach. It could be the approach through learning to let go. It could be through learning to sit in the moment and embrace it and accept it. It could be literally the psychology of the work, which is learning healthy boundaries and needs, learning how to express them and know what it means to have them respected and treated with dignity. It's like 7 or 8 different ways, modalities of approaching this, and all of them have their place. And Braveheart is me, what I'm good at is synthesizing many different messages from modalities, and Braveheart is bringing these different modalities to you as you're walking along, as I listen to podcasts, or as you're working out, or as you're in between driving somewhere to somewhere. This is me saying, hey, this is another way we can look at this, or have you thought about this, or what about this way? So we've got some great guests coming who are absolutely into the same type of work you and I are into. really committed to being our full selves and living that and expressing it and being with people who want that for us. They don't want us to be small. They don't want us to hide away aspects of ourselves for their own comfort. Or more accurately, they don't want us to be smaller because they can't handle their own discomfort. And it's not forcing ourselves on anyone and saying, you've got to accept me as I am. It's learning to embrace who we are, accepting it, loving it, digging it, and then being around people who are capable of that as well. And there's such a serenity to that. It is such a more peaceful way to walk through life than to walk through it trying to resist when we get people who don't agree with who we're being, trying to control us or make us smaller or correct us or make us more perfect or however they may do it. That's not a peaceful way of living. We don't have to be that way. That the path to ourselves has a number of modalities and they all have a place and they all have a role to play. And learning about these modalities, so educating ourselves on these modalities, sure, it might accelerate the journey if we're into the fast track of spiritual growth, but more significantly, it gives us a sense of no longer being gaslit by culture. We're no longer gaslit by our family's expectations of us. We're no longer gaslighting ourselves because the information is available. And that's what I'm hoping with Braveheart. That's my intention, to bring that information to us so we can have these conversations and stop the gaslighting of telling us how we have to be or how we can't be or what's better. If you're a woman, how you're supposed to be, or if you're a man, what that entails, and labeling things toxic. And let's just stop with the labels and start learning about the language of this so we can connect in an informed way to the aspects of ourselves that are going to need some help in coming to fruition, and we can give ourselves some help and guidance in terms of what needs to be let go. One of the things that I loved that I heard this morning on another podcast, it sounds like a lot of podcasts this morning, the most important journey that we can do is a journey to ourselves. It literally is the whole point of life. And I've been saying that for like 3 years now, and I believe that, and I'm passionate about it. I do not believe we have goals. I believe we have goals to meet unmet needs. And if we can learn what the need is and the emotion that's being neglected, the goal becomes less significant and the journey is the point. Braveheart is all about that journey. I'm so glad you're with me. I really love that you stuck around to hear that message, and I trust you're excited. You're looking forward to who I'm going to be chatting with and the different messages. In the meantime, we're going to really encourage questions, comments, interaction. And so if you would like to submit a question for the Braveheart podcast, you can. And the email address is askme@remypearson.com. And if you want to check out what Braveheart and the movement of Braveheart is, you can go to braveheart@remypearson.com. And so far we've got members in different countries and it's a growing movement and I'm really excited about it. So that's how you can get in touch, how you can get more involved. In the meantime, I would love your continued support. If you haven't subscribed yet, really important that we drive subscriptions. YouTube, we're smashing it. We get over 1 million views quite often. It's wonderful. But we really want to rank with regular podcast land so we can say, hey, we get over 1 million views for many podcasts. It would be so helpful if you love this message and you're enjoying hanging out with me if you hit the subscribe button, however you subscribe, just so we can get the help that we need with that. That would be wonderful. And in the meantime, I really look forward to experiencing, bringing into life and learning more about your Braveheart.